Take an actual breath. My name is Rachel Hutchison. I am the Senior Manager of Online Instructional Design here at the Academy at NHSA. Excited to be here with you all again for the next part in our series on tackling behaviors that challenge us. This is a very popular topic. I know that there are all kinds of challenges that you all face every single day. We're going to try and give you some tools to address those. You are all on mute, so you can put any questions that you have in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we go through this webinar. And we are recording this. So this recording and the resources will be sent out to you in a follow-up email. You're welcome to share those with anyone that might benefit from this information. Those of you who are here live will also receive a certificate of completion that will come in a separate email within the next week. So you can watch for that. We're going to learn a lot of good stuff today. And we're going to learn it from our experts. Always a joy to be on a webinar with Dr. Deb Bergeron, known fondly as Dr. B. She is formerly the director of the Office of Head Start and now the Deputy Director of Innovation and Community Engagement here at NHSA. And also our master of sound, Hayes Greenfield. He is the creator of the Greenfield Method and the founder of Creative Sound Play. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about sound making today. Okay, let's dive in. So we're going to talk about a couple of concepts today that you can use to manage those behaviors that are challenging. And they sound very different on the front end. One is the good thinker method. We're going to talk about being a good thinker. And then we're going to talk, as I said, about sound making with Hayes. You might look at that and go, what does one of those have to do with the other? They don't seem like the same thing. When we start talking about why you would use these methods, I think you're going to find that the philosophy behind them is actually very much the same. So let's start with the basics. Dr. B, let's talk about one good thinker. What is this strategy? Why would you use it? And then we'll pivot to Hayes and he can talk about sound making.
Excellent. Thanks, Rachel. It's great to see everybody. I love seeing so many people from across the country with us today. Thank you for taking time. Yeah, one of the things I love about doing this behavior management series, both these webinars and the class that Hayes and Nick and I sort of teach in tandem with each other for the credential, is that they are really just like they're different toolboxes that you can take with you as a practitioner, whether you're an ed manager supporting teachers or a teacher or an IA yourself in classrooms, or even somebody who is adjacent to children in the program, but you still want to be able to manage a group of kids, is that the tools end up being very intertwined. And so it allows you as a practitioner to take the one that's going to make the most sense for that moment, for that purpose, and for your own comfort, because some of the things we do might not necessarily feel as comfortable. So so this is a really good example of that. And one good thinker is a whole group teaching method. So think carpet time, okay? Think story reading, read aloud, those kinds of things. And I'm going to give you the specifics later, but the idea behind it is really about teaching children to listen, teaching them to listen, increasing engagement, and tapping into that executive functioning that we know is so important in child development. Now I'm going to pivot over to Hayes, and he's going to tell you about his little treat he has for you today, and you're going to see how they go together.
Okay, well, thank you, and it's absolutely a treat to be here. And thank you, Deb. Thank you, Rachel, and to share my stuff, share Creative Sound Play with everybody. The one thing that every child absolutely loves to do is to make sound. They make it alone, they make it in a group, they make it anywhere. And what's so amazing about sound is that as soon as we stop and think about an intentional way to make a sound in a deliberate way, we're immediately plugging in to our executive function skills, inhibitory control. We're thinking, we're not going on automatic pilot, we're being in the moment. Working memory, we're thinking about the different ways that we can make the sound. Cognitive flexibility, when we start to make the sound in different ways, we're going to be making whoop, ooh, that, bebop. All of those sounds, as soon as you start to think about how you want to make the sound, you're engaging your executive function. And what immediate happens is that because children absolutely love to make sound, they'll jump in right away. So you could just go, um, "Zabadoo, blee-la," and your kids are just gonna all come together, whether they're on the carpet or standing around, and all of a sudden start doing that with you. So sound, and I can only say that as I more I do this, I realize in my life, the more I start to listen, the more I'm a better thinker. So they are so tied together. And I think that the biggest problem that we have as adults is that we tune out sound very quickly. Sound is ubiquitous. It's around us. It's like the air we breathe. And we forget how much curiosity children have with it and love to make it. And uh how's that for a starter? And then I'll fill in a little bit, okay? I don't want to
I
go too
feel you
far.
reining yourself in, Hayes, trying not to go too far. So let me segue you in. That was beautiful. Obviously, we're talking about those executive functioning skills, and both of the topics we're talking about today help kids to tap into those basic abilities to learn self-control and to think about what they're doing and think about what they're saying and how they're interacting with one another. So it's really valuable, right, in any situation, but especially when you're trying to work with a whole bunch of them at once. And that's when those challenging behaviors can really make classroom management a challenge. So we know that all behavior is communication, including those behaviors that are challenging and that we struggle to fully understand. They're struggling to tell us what they mean. We don't know what they mean. Nobody knows what's going on. And you can just feel the stress starting to build. So let's talk about how these strategies of good thinking and sound making can help teachers to communicate with and understand the children that are in their care. So, Hayes, you're ready. Why don't you go for it?
Okay, so let's say you have a kid who's really loud. Instead of being punitive and saying, "Whoa, that's and believe me, I can appreciate that when somebody comes in, they're really loud. It's jarring, right? But instead of being punitive, you might say, "Whoa, that's a little loud for me. I bet you can't make that sound quieter. Make the same sound just like a little quiet." And they'll do it. And then you say, "Well, maybe you can make it a little louder." And then make it really loud. And then make it really quiet. And what you're doing there, you're changing this situation where normally you would be like, "Whoa, stop." And you're providing your children the opportunity and the license to make that sound at different volume levels. And they immediately are hearing it. And they're able to reflect and internalize that what they do makes a difference. And as you do this, they're listening to each other more, they're engaging, and you can have kids all of a sudden get really loud so that they can all get it out, and then or even having them making a big silence. I mean, kids, when you start to engage children with making sound and a deliberate sound in an intentional way or an intentional sound in a deliberate way, it goes however you want to do it. They also love to make silence. They can make a big silence. They just love it's all for them, just all fun. Okay? I don't want to take up too much time. We don't have that much time. I want to pass it back to you, Deb.
Sure. So I'm gonna talk. This is the hardest webinar for me to do because what this skill is actually a little deeper than 30 minutes allows, but I'll do my best. And I will tell you that I teach Trust First, and when we do this, we actually practice it and you get a script and everything. But bear with me while I kind of give you the idea behind this. The purpose behind One Good Thinker is to teach children to listen the first time and raise engagement during whole group, okay? The only way for me to show you this is to literally model it. And I'm going to do it here online with no kids sitting here, and I'm going to have to like role play all these parts. So bear with me. Let's see if it
Wonderful.
works, okay? We're going to use a
Great.
really simple example, but imagine you're on the carpet. You know, we spend a lot of time on the carpet. You might do whole group reading. You might teach a center, something like that, where you need everybody listening and learning, and you need to know that they learned what you taught them. This is for discrete skills. This isn't something you would use for less specific thinking, where you want opinion and perspective and that kind of thing. That's not necessarily when you're going to use this skill, although there are ways to adapt it. Okay, so I've taught the children that the color of the sky is blue. And now I want to see if they learned what I taught them. So I'm going to say, what color is the sky? And I have taught them already that their job to tell me that they want to try to answer the question is to raise their hands. Okay, that's my method. If you have a different one, that doesn't really matter. As hands go up, you are going to count off one good thinker, two good thinkers, three good thinkers. As many hands that go up, you can call out. You point to the good thinker and you count them off. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to have some kids raise their hand who didn't even hear the question, much less know the answer. You're going to have some kids raise their hand who heard your question. They have no idea what the answer was because when you said it, they weren't listening. And you'll have some kids who know the answer. You know this, right? It doesn't matter. You are going to call on your good thinkers until you have enough participation so that you've got the engagement. Because if they've raised their hand, they are at least engaged with you. They are wanting to know that they can participate and they feel successful with their hand up. So one good thinker, two good thinkers, three good thinkers, four good thinkers. Hayes, what color is the sky? Now, here are your scenarios. All right, here, and I'm going to give you all of them. Hayes says blue. And I say, smart thinking, Hayes. And I go to somebody else. Rachel, what color is the sky? And I give her a chance to say blue. She just heard Hayes say it. So even if she didn't remember, she probably knows it's blue now. And you give a couple kids a chance to be correct. The idea is you are bringing them in to your discussion very actively. And you are teaching them when you're talking and discussing something that you need them to remember, it's good to listen the first time because you're not going to go back and you're not repeating it. You're just asking the question and you're looking for an answer. Now let's play the other scenario that I know all of you are thinking. What color is the sky? One good thinker, two good thinkers, three good thinkers. Hayes, what color is the sky? And Hayes says, purple. Now, I'm not going to go into advanced trust first. There are some really good extra skills you can do here, but let's just deal with an answer that you weren't looking for. Hayes, and you give him what is purple. So you're thinking that's the correct answer to some different question. Hayes, that's the color of a grape. I need the answer to what's the color of the sky. Rachel, what's the color of the sky? And Rachel says blue. Now here's where the difference happens. This is where the learning happens. So listen carefully. I go back to Hayes. Hayes, what's the color of the sky? And he says blue. He has gotten to be correct in front of his peers. He knows it only because Rachel said it, which is fine. You have taught Hayes that no matter what, he gets to learn the material, even if he's not correct. And if he has trouble again, you can keep repeating this method. What happens over time when you use this method during whole group is you are actually teaching your children to listen the first time. And you're also teaching them that more than one child can be successful at a time. What we tend to do, whether we use equity sticks or hand raising, is that we limit the correctness to a single student, first of all. So what that does is it limits the number of children who want to participate. Because if I'm not sure I'm going to be correct, I'm not raising my hand. And if you call on me from an equity stick and I'm not 100% sure, I'm not going to answer you. I will clam up. What this does is it frees the children to be successful and to enjoy that success. You might have some kids who raise their hand and you say, Rachel, what's the color of the sky? And she says, and she even looks at her hand like she doesn't even know she raised it, right? I mean, they will just raise their hand randomly. Oh, I don't know. And then you can tell. And you can do the same thing. Hayes, you want to support Rachel? What's the color of the sky? And then go back to Rachel. Rachel gets to be correct no matter what. So the idea behind the good thinker method is that you're checking for understanding, and you want to make sure more than one child understands. Because a check for understanding in a group of 15 and you get one person who knows it isn't telling you much. But if you can get 5 or 6 kids to be correct, chances are really good most of them have got it. The other thing it does is it tells you, if you choose Hayes and he says purple, and you choose Rachel and she says purple, it might be telling you that you might need to go back and reteach. Whatever you taught wasn't taught in a way that the kids are getting it.
Yeah.
And then maybe I need to reteach that one. If 2 or 3 kids get that answer incorrect, you're probably not in a space where the children are understanding. So this is a more complicated skill than most of the skills I bring to these webinars, but it is absolutely one of the most fun things to do as a teacher. And over time, they will be fascinated, teachers will be fascinated at how smoothly whole group teaching can go. And what you will notice is it spills over into other work you're doing because you are teaching active listening skills to children. They know that when you speak, it's important to listen because you're going to hold them responsible. They know that they can be wrong or make a mistake, and it's okay. They're going to be successful. You're there to teach them. You're going to make sure they're successful, so it's safe. And over time, it just completely permeates everything in the classroom and changes the culture from a right-wrong culture, from a I'm confident, so I'll raise my hand culture to everybody can raise their hand because everybody can have fun and be successful.
It's
I love
amazing.
this. And can I add on to this?
Go
I
right ahead.
love this. Deb, I love this. And one of the things about sound, and this is why it's as soon as you're making an intentional sound in a deliberate way, there's no wrong way. So the thing that's so beautiful is that let's say you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and clapping on 2 and 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Can you hear that? You probably can't hear that.
But I can see your hands.
Well, wait, so let me see if I can make this adjust the audio to be live audio. Oh, no, it's not okay. So everybody, I don't think you can see me clapping. You can hear me clapping my hand. You can? Okay.
Mhm.
So let's say I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, there are going to be some kids that go 1, 2, 3, 4. There are going to be some kids that go 1, 2, 3, 4. There are kids go 1, it doesn't matter. Eventually, they're all going to get it because it's something that they love to do. We're just counting and clapping on a specific number. So there's no wrong way when you're making sound, which is so beautiful with the way how you do with Trust First, and it's not calling out anybody. And at some point, they're going to be gravitating to it and getting it. It's just beautiful. So sound, and it gets back to that. All you're doing is intentional, trying to make a sound in an intentional way, in a deliberate way, an intentional sound in a deliberate way. But it's just, there's no, it's getting rid of the fear, and
Yeah.
the fear for teachers too. I have tons of teachers who say, "Oh, I can't keep a beat," and that's all in your head. It's all in your head. If you listen to the silence, all of a sudden, and you listen to the space between the clap, instead of being, I have many teachers who feel a little uptight because they're scared of messing up, and so they're so scared of messing up, they're not allowing the space, the silence, to listen to the silence. You just take time and relax and hear the silence. Okay.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've done this already, but I want to give you the opportunity Devin Hayes, if there's any like one little party favor that you would want to give to our audience today, something that they could try tomorrow in the classroom. Just one little way to try the good thinker method is a little bit complicated to just go and row into circle time. And Hayes, you've sort of hinted at several different ways to use sound play. Let's give them one little goodie that they could try tomorrow.
Okay. This is going to sound really silly. Is everybody okay with this? Here we go. You don't even have to say anything. Just walk into your classroom and start going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count just a series of numbers, however you want to do it. You can say the alphabet. You can say whatever you want to do. Okay, now I'm going to be specific. Count to 4. Do it twice, 2 repetitions, medium volume, then really loud, and really quiet, and then medium again. And you'll see that your kids immediately start jumping in and counting with you. And they'll stay up when you've come down. And then they'll come down. And see if you can't get them to come down really quickly. And then play with it and have fun with it for yourself so that you go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. And see how sharp and quick your kids respond. So that's my party favor for the day.
That's a fun one, playing with volume. Kids love to play with volume. I did this
That's
with a
right.
group of kids last week. They were range in age from 8 to 14. And it wasn't the counting trick, but we were running a scene and I had them do it at top volume and then no volume. And then they found the volume I wanted. It was amazing.
Mhm.
Dr. B, what
Absolutely.
about you? Party
You know, one
favorite.
of the things too that I love about those kinds of strategies is you don't have to deliberately teach anything. They are going to naturally join you in that process. It's such human nature to do. And so it makes it something that really is organic and a lot of fun. So here's what I'm going to do for the kind of takeaway from what I've just talked about. I think you can do 2 very simple things tomorrow. The first one is super easy. See what happens when you just start referring to your children as good thinkers. Just notice the difference in that one way of addressing your children. It changes, it's different than calling them smart, and it reaches a little bit deeper than that in terms of they are it's an active sort of engagement with them. So just start with call them good thinkers as you're giving them different feedback for the things you're doing throughout the day, regardless of what it is. You pushed your chair in, good thinker. And notice how that slowly changes sort of the feel in the classroom and the way they respond. In terms of the whole group lesson, I do think this is a really hard one to take back from just 30 minutes because it does require some practice and a little bit of scripting just to get used to it. But I think the one takeaway from the good thinker sort of method is the idea of allowing more than one child, when you're checking in for understanding, to give an answer to the exact same question. We rarely do this. So I'm checking for who knows what the weather's like. And you know, you have one child who raises his hand and says it's cloudy or it's raining, and you move on. Instead of moving on, ask 3 or 4 children and let 3 or 4 children give you the exact same answer. It doesn't make you any less correct if you're answering after the first child. You still get to feel successful. So that builds that confidence and connection. You still you're reinforcing the answer to the question for the whole group, but most important, you're demonstrating that the idea that listening and engaging is part of what you do as a teacher. And over time, what this does, when you might even be thinking, I don't know what this has to do with behavior, but think about when you have some of your most challenging behaviors: carpet time, sitting time, listening time, when you need them to be focused on you in a group. That is really tough. And what this does is it shifts that environment from a space where you're more fidgety kids, the ones who might not grasp concept as quickly in whole group, and who need to move more and might need to speak more, and or might be less inclined to speak, will find other ways of getting your attention, and now you're bringing them into the process. So what happens is when you use a method like this over time is you completely change the tone and the culture of the classroom, which is what Trust First is really all about. It isn't like we teach 10 skills in Trust First. It's not like those 10 skills are magic beans. They really aren't. What they are things that when you do them consistently will just completely change the way your classroom feels. And that
Mm.
impacts behavior. And that's where the teacher gets to feel the joy again in the classroom, because you get to focus on what the reason you went into this work, which is to teach. And that's the whole point of everything we do. So it's to get you back into that teaching mode, out of the controlling mode that we tend to fall into when we're not getting what we want. And that moves everything forward and keeps it in such a positive space.
Yeah, Hayes said this really well before we came on that, listening is a great skill for all of us as adults to remember how wonderful it is to listen, especially as a young child. So much of what they hear is still brand new to them. So the things that we now ignore, it gives us a chance to tune back in and to tune in with them and remember how wonderful it is to learn. And recapturing that joy is a big part of what we try and teach in the classroom management credential for you as teachers, so that you can bring that into your whole classroom for all of the kids that you are serving. So this is our half hour just to give you that little inspiration, something that you can go and try tomorrow. But we would love to have you join us for the full classroom management credential. Our spring session is underway and it is completely full, which is awesome. We're so glad to have all of them in there learning about this with us. Enrollment for fall is open. It does tend to fill up fast, so this is a great time to sign up. We'll have a link for it in our follow-up email, and we strongly suggest learning together. So education managers, if you're on here, we do have a group rate. So if you want to send like 10 of your teachers to come learn this together, awesome, please do. We have a special, it'll just be automatically applied when you register. I see Dr. B wants to add
Yes,
something.
because I do want to say something. I wanted to shout out Cassie, who is on here from Alaska. I just saw her name pop up when they were introducing. I want to thank you for coming, because I know how hard it is with the time difference to participate. And I want to tell those of you who are in Alaska or Hawaii or even on the West Coast, when our times don't align, if you have enough folks in your program, we will work with you to create something that works with your time frame. We're really committed to this and trying really hard to get out there and reach as many practitioners as possible. So if you're in Alaska or somewhere that you think I can never do this stuff because your classes are right when I'm on carpet time with my kids, then, and you have a group that would like to do it, reach out to me. We'll figure it out and make it happen. And thanks for taking time to be here. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, we absolutely want to serve as many programs as we possibly can, and we are here to listen to you.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
thanks so much, everybody, for being here with us. We have one final webinar this year in our Tackling Behaviors That Challenge series. We're going to talk about stating your needs next month with our behavior mastery and Yogarati expert, Ron Schwally. So we hope that you will join us. And in the meantime, it's a wonderful place to be in this world. You are a wonderful you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.